Hello, and settle in on this cold wet Sunday for some more small games. Recently we have covered some larger small games, but today I want to get back to some small games, the real bread and butter of itch. I've noticed a lot of games in this space seem to be products of game jams. Game jams are organised events where individuals or small teams get together to create games, usually with a specific genre or inspiration. This can be everything from open worlds to a small statement that they have to make the game on. It can be community projects about a podcast using small episode titles I've seen in the past. I find this space to be continuously interesting, as I do not think there can be something more reactive in the world of games. They are sometimes literally made across the period of a few days. They are by nature deeply personal, which can just be something expressive and silly, or trying to explore an important message and educate the audience. I do not think I've seen a space quite so vibrant and eclectic in games. Now, on to our first game, Just Blink. Just Blink has this mechanic that seems obvious at first, but in reality has some very specific applications. When you blink, as in your eyes, you teleport. Harkening back to Alone in the Dark, you can press a dedicated key to blink, although your character will automatically after a certain amount of time, giving in to that base human instinct to blink, meaning that you need to think carefully about the amount of time you have in each area. Important note, the blink occurs when you open your eyes back up, not when you close them, but we'll get back to that in a second. Lastly, water will ground you from blinking, meaning that you will not teleport when in the water, no matter how many times you flutter those eyelids. The game has you platforming through levels to collect remnants of a crown. Some screens will have this QR code built into them, which I was a little hesitant about at first, knowing that malicious code can be hidden in them, but they appear to just take you to a Google search with the core story written there. The story is welcome, a little on the lighter side, but that's to be expected when you're playing a smaller game jam game. With the random teleporting though, I thought the trick was hidden here. Each screen you move to has this designation, so I was wondering if there was a pattern to the teleporting, a pattern to how you move through them. I still have this bit of paper on my desk logging the order in which you teleport, but it does actually truly seem random. Instead, it comes about doing platforming without being able to see. Obviously you can still move with your eyes closed, so you have to internalise the level, close your eyes and get it done before opening them and being transported away to somewhere else. It's a good little fun game. Just Blink is for anyone who wants a platforming snack with an interesting mechanic. One that I again think could be expanded on easily. I'm starting to see how game jams tend to produce smaller games, but they always have this central, really cool and interesting thing to them, a mechanic or a bit of story. It's a limited scope, but it tends to be well explored. Map Friend follows in the tradition of corrupt software games. I'm not familiar with old operating systems, but I believe this would be somewhere in the Windows 95 era. Think Google Maps, but on a really old machine. Everything runs kinda clunky and the map feels like you're walking around an N64 FPS level, which in its own right was kind of a creepy space. They are desolate but for little rotating trees and these big sprite textures that stick out of them. So you can look down on the map from above, from like a Google Maps kind of thing, but you can also take the little pegman and drop him down on the map to see it in a first person perspective, kind of like how you can see the camera from the cars. You spend time searching around the area from both the ground and above, and as a small horror game, you start to find oddities in one of the most scary places, the digital representation of the world that we reside in. Seeing a part that was never meant to be discovered and by nature is hard to confirm the reality of it all. Both the format of looking at the maps as well as the old system hardware compounding this. It's a neat little game and one, just go try it out. Overwhelmed is probably the game with the highest specificity that I've played so far in itch. It's a game about the public healthcare system in Spain, but specifically about the area of Madrid and the pressures that it faces. The game takes place across one or two boards and is about drawing rooms around doctors and patients to assign them to each other. Each doctor needs a separate room and can treat a certain number of patients, 2 or 3 usually. As you progress, you upgrade to 2 screens at once, each representing a different point in the day. So less of an upgrade and more you getting more responsibility. On the left is the first shift, where each doctor can treat up to 3 patients, and on the right is the second part of the shift, where they become tired and can only treat 2. As the game goes on, it treats this natural complexity that grows out of these core mechanics to show you how tricky it is getting all the patients treated, the puzzles becoming more complex and harder to solve. The game also uses its time in between screens to give more information about the ongoing state of the healthcare system, informing you of the pressures of the situation, as well as how the general politics of the area have a tendency to disregard these problems, or misalign the cause of them at least. This game is interesting and one that is easy to recommend because of its size and scope. Honestly, there's plenty to talk about regarding the messaging in this game and its delivery system. Instead, I think it's worthy of talking about how games of these sizes and nature can be used as a form of education, of getting a message across no matter how specific. I come out of it feeling like I know a little more about the world and how it operates, even if it's an area of the world that's a whole plane flight away from me. The ability to tell your own story, to make it important and personal, well, it's something that small games offer. Both their scope, their cost, in both money and time, make this a feasible thing. The tools are not completely universal, but as they progress in this direction, we find ourselves in a situation where many people have the ability to share important parts of their lives. Tying it to the mechanical nature of games means that it just becomes even more memorable than just reading it in a newspaper or seeing it on a TV. As the literacy of players increases, as the ability for this as a form of communication to be more accessible to both the creators and the players, well, I just see a lot of potential in that situation. I think on that positive note on the state of games and small games is where we will end today. Thank you for watching as always. Let me know if there are any small games on your radar. My name's been Billy. Peace.